Good afternoon, everybody. We are back live on Higher Military's LinkedIn page, Facebook page as well, and the YouTube channel. So today we're talking to Jane Babcock. She is a Veterans Benefits Educator, certified or was certified, or we'll get into that. A VSO. So Jane can talk about all the benefits you may be entitled to, should be going after, and all that good stuff. So Jane, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Matt.
So you spent your I guess 20 plus years in the military, whatever it is, you retired from the military. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you came into this space.
Well, after 21 and a half years, 8.5 active duty and the rest split up as reservist, I left the service abruptly due to non-combat injuries. They were in line of duty, but nobody said VA to me.
Okay.
Nobody said you can go for your surgery at the VA, you can go for your following physical therapy and everything else, and you can go for compensation for these injuries. So when I read a newspaper ad for a county veteran service officer, I said, oh, that's interesting. So I went for it. And it really surprised me just how much is out there for us as a support system. I wish I had known this stuff when my dad and his dad were alive.
Of course, that'd be very beneficial. So you got into this space because you weren't told about this at all, and you just said, you know what, I'm going to be the educator, right?
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
And that's how we fall into opportunity. So tell us about your military background. What brought you to where you are now, and where are you actually stationed, or where you live out right now, Jane?
Okay. Well, I started out going into the service at the age of 23, and my DI said, how old are you, Private? And I said, 23, Drill Sergeant. And he said, your new name is Mom.
Okay.
Because I was older than him. So I spent the next 21 and a half years being called Mom. Literally. Ran into him practicing DNC for President Bush Sr.'s inaugural parade at Fort Meade. And he looked at me and went, Mom. So I started out as a crypto tech, I was always a tinkerer, wanted to get into something electronic because I thought someday these big giant rooms full of computers are going to be important. And now they make it smaller than a desktop phone.
That's right.
But I've been very fortunate. I had excellent leadership that taught me, like my grandfather, always know how the private feels, and that'll tell you how your mission's going.
Oh, that's actually pretty good advice right there.
Yeah, if your troops don't feel like they're being taken care of, if they don't feel like they're being listened to, they're not going to follow you.
That's true. So that's a good advice.
You know, it's hard to say to somebody, oh yeah, I'm going to treat you like dirt, but I want you to stay awake for the next 3 days without sleep.
I don't know about you, but I wouldn't like that either, Jane.
My grandfather was a colonel and did World War I and World War II.
Okay.
So I learned a lot from him.
So you have a lot of military in your bloodline, correct?
Definitely. I have 6 out of 7 generations.
And that's a lot.
Yeah.
So, okay. So this today's LinkedIn Live is really about benefits from the VA and how to really obtain them and when to obtain them, right? So,
and how to prepare to get them.
How to prepare to get them, that's right. All right. So we'll go into that. So as people transition from the military, they think maybe a year out is good enough. Tell us some advice from you as an educator, when to start transition and when to get in contact with people like you and the VSOs.
Well, transition really needs to start. If you're on a 4-year contract, I would start at the midpoint.
Okay.
You need to start thinking about, okay, what are my opportunities on the outside, what the economic situation is, and you have to say to yourself, okay, am I building toward retirement? You know, a lot of young people don't think about that. Believe me, every month when that paycheck gets deposited into the bank, I am a very happy former NCO. So you got to start making those decisions, thinking about that. And then you need to think about, okay, how transitional are my current skills going to be when I get out? An infantryman is a wonderfully honorable MOS, but how's that going to transfer to the outside world?
There's not a lot of infantry needed in the outside world, correct?
Yes. So you need to start thinking about, okay, what can I do within that? Obviously, you're able to pay attention to extremely fine skill bases as an infantryman. So now you need to start thinking about, what do I like to do? What am I already got the skills for? And so that might be where you start going over to your education center or the local university or tech school and looking at taking these tests that help, they're kind of like the ASVAB when you started service. And that is to say, well, gee, I want to be an x-ray tech, but I don't like the sight of blood. Not going to work real well.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. So they have a series of tests that are personality based. What do you like? Do you like working alone, in groups? Do you find heights scary? Things like that. And then they're going to give you a series of tests that have questions like, can you fold this drawing and what shape does it make when it's done? Okay, there's, dimensional observation. Can you see that image in your head? Are you good with math? Are you good with written words? Are you, vocabulary strong? Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're going to mash those two up and say, you know what? We're going to take out all the medical stuff because you don't like blood. Except for,
good advice.
we're going to add back in the records tech because that has nothing to do with blood. We're going to add back in the jobs that don't, obviously working at the front desk, you're probably not going to come across blood very often. So they'll add back in those jobs that are still open to you in the medical field. You then look out on the internet, and the job centers and the job services everywhere can tell you where there are job sites where you can go and see what the average wage for that job is.
Okay.
Because if you're going to come home and go to school or go to a job, you want to know that you're going to make a living income.
That's good information to know. And they can do this on Base. They can do it on LinkedIn. There's so many resources out there. And some of the advice we give here is really find some mentors, find a mentor in the field you want to go to, or let's say the field you don't want to go into. At least you know what it is. And for us that leave the military, there's also the DoD Skill Bridge program that allows you to go intern with a company for up to 6 months, normally 3 to 4 months. That way you can get to know the company. It's like a 3 to 4 month interview process. The company gets to know you, you know them. And the worst case scenario out of that is you find out what you don't want to do. But with a 90% offer rate from internship to job, you may find the job you like. Sorry, Jane, I had to interject that because there's questions coming here all the time.
Definitely. I'm not used to the Skill Bridge program. The last time I came off active duty, it was just starting to roll, and nobody really gave us classes on it.
And now we can educate the masses now because this, coupled with your education and benefits, I'll tell you, these transition veterans will be in a much better place than maybe you and I were when we left the service, right?
Yes.
So they should start benefits 12 months out, or start researching them, right?
Oh, at least 12 months out. It depends on how much time your contract is. If you're a 3-year active duty and then you're going to go reserves, whatever. But you want to start a minimum of 12 months out, because you have to start making those decisions as far as economics and where's the job going to take me. Because to say I'm going to come back and live in Kewanee, Wisconsin, you're not going to do that if you want to get into avionics.
Probably not.
So you have to look at the jobs and start narrowing that big pile of jobs and say, okay, these are the 3 I'm most interested in, that I have the basic skills for, that will provide me a living income. And then you're going to have to say, okay, where are those jobs? Do I have to live in a big city? Can I live in rural USA?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, rural USA, that living doesn't need to be as big, and it won't be. The last time when I came out from Washington, D.C. after my first active duty, I worked for an underwater acoustical research outfit. And I came back to Mauston, Wisconsin, and they went, well, we don't have a lot of that work. No. And I said, yeah, but I can learn really fast. And they said, yeah, obviously. So, but we can't pay you that kind of money. And I said, yeah, but what you're offering is almost what I paid for rent out in Washington. So I think I can get by on that, considering the rent will be 1/3 of what it was out in DC. So you have to start looking at those economics so that when you get out, you're okay.
And there's a few comments coming through here. Priscilla, she's got a lot of great resources she's talking about. She mentioned the American Corporate Partners, ACP, which they'll align a mentor, a civilian mentor to you, and you have free mentorship from really someone that's ingrained in the civilian workforce. Could be in a Fortune 500 company, could be a sports team, could be anywhere, that they'll mentor you for a year and really educate you on what's available out there. Because I went through ACP, I had a great mentor. He opened me up to terms and really industries I had no idea existed just by the conversations that we had. And Priscilla also mentioned O2O for certification. So there's so many great resources out there. And Jane today we'll be really talking about or focusing on the VA benefits, right, Jane?
Some of them, yes.
Because
and just
what
to do to be prepared for those. Now, the next thing would be, if you have service-related injuries or illnesses, if you were stationed somewhere where there was chemical exposures, right now burn pit is very limited, but they are starting to recognize the potential for respiratory issues and things like that. And of course, certain burn pits where the VA has already acknowledged that they were doing things like burning computers, which have mercury in them. So there's other issues. But with the VA, if you know that you're going to come out and you're going to get a service-connected rating, you have a program called Vocational Rehabilitation. Now, they
Voc
have
Rehab,
changed
right?
now. Yeah, Voc Rehab.
Okay.
But they have a new name for it. It's an employment program. But basically, there's 5 lanes in that program. One is, do you want to go right back to work? Can we work with an employer? Say, God forbid, you're wheelchair bound now. Okay, they'll work with the employer and say, where's his job site going to be? We could put in a ramp. We could help you subsidize to get some ergonomic setup on his desktop. You need him to go to these particular classes for computer skills. We could do that. We could supplement the income for the employer for up to a year so that that veteran can try the job and know that they're a good fit and that they're happy in that job. So the Voc Rehab has that program. They have a business program that will send them through education to start their own business, help them set up their business plan and all that stuff to approach the bank. They have another one that's strictly for the person that's coming home from service and he's lost a majority of his sight, and now we need to teach him how to just live.
Okay.
So they have that rehab program. And then they have one to send you to college. And then they have another one where, like I said, it's strictly, okay, we're just going to help you get back to a new job.
So, and they find these benefits from, there's background noise a little bit, Jane. There's, they find these information from the VSOs correctly, or is there someone on post that can help them out as a transition?
Yes. Every veteran that is getting ready to transition, please don't ever fight the VA or ask for anything from the VA without a veteran service officer.
Okay.
Iowa County, every veteran service officer is a veteran. They may belong to a veteran organization like the VFW or American Legion and serve in a regional office or serve there on base. And they are paid by either their organization or their local government, like I was paid by the government. And that allows you to get their services free.
Okay, so on that topic, so I'm on the bottom of the page is scrolling the information for the how to find a VSO. Would you mind walking us through an example?
Sure. If
Let
you
me
go
share
to
my
that
screen
website,
here. I'll share my screen and we'll figure this out together.
okie doke.
All right, so here we go, Jane. So tell us what this is about right here.
Okay, if you come to the va.gov website and you put in accreditation or anything like that, you're going to get to a page that describes VSOs, and then there's a link to come to this page.
Okay.
The first one there is attorneys. You don't need an attorney to fight the VA unless you've gotten to the 2nd level appeal, okay? So please don't ever start out with an attorney. They make their money on the length of time it took to get your claim settled.
Okay.
or if it's going to bring them status, like winning a glioblastoma case for a Vietnam veteran.
Or class
Very,
action,
very
right?
rare. So but the status of that is wonderful.
Okay.
So the next person is a claims agent. I could apply to the VA since I've been through the training and been certified. I could apply to the VA and I could become a claims agent. But I'm going to pay for my office space, my network hookup, and everything else. So it's going to cost me money. So therefore, it's going to cost you money.
Of course.
But a veteran service officer, and you don't have to be a veteran to be a claims agent.
Okay.
A veteran service officer is first and foremost a veteran. They speak the language. They have assisted, thousands of people in applying for their benefits. They know all the little things, like when it asks you what your medical expenses are, that includes your insurance premium. Because if you're coming into the VA, first off, and you haven't finalized your claim, or it has not been rated, or you don't have any service-related injuries or illnesses, they're going to go based on your income minus your medical expenses, and whatever your living income is what the VA is going to say. You don't have any copays, or you pay this one and that one, but not this one.
So this site allows us to find the VSO in our area, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if I put your Manitowoc, right?
Yes. So it would drop you and show you 3 different, obviously if your name of your town is pretty popular, you're going to want to put the state in.
Of course.
Not too many Manitowocs in the world.
True.
So these are 3 well-trained, highly skilled veteran service officers that work right here in Manitowoc County. They are paid by the county, and they are there Monday through Friday to help you with all your benefit questions, applications, details on how to get evidence that you need to get your claim go through quickly.
Okay.
So these 3 people right there are going to help you immensely.
So and I'll put Mr. Mosher's name here.
Yeah. So Jeff is accredited with 3 of the organizations. If I'm down at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and I'm looking at, okay, when I go home and I'm going back to Manitowoc, I already decided that. So I'm going to go, well, I should talk to the American Legion guy for my VSO down there at Fort Campbell, because when I come back up to Manitowoc, Jeff's going to be able to, with my signature saying he's authorized to look at my electronic claim file, he will be able to get into my electronic claim file and see exactly what's going on with my claim.
Okay, and they have an accreditation number here too. So this is a good site to find the accredited people to talk to in your, and normally every county has these VSOs, correct?
No, not. There's only, I believe, 32 states, and maybe county, maybe parish, maybe state is got these people assigned out. There are some states where, due to population spread, they may cover 1 or 2 counties.
Okay. Well, that was a quick down and dirty on the VA site that talks about finding your VSO, accredited VSO. So that's good information, Jane. So.
And I've heard a lot of people sometimes say, my VSO doesn't really seem to be helping me, or they're not explaining things fully. 2 things I'm going to say to that. 10% of all doctors graduated in the bottom 10% of their class. We're humans. The other part is, maybe you need to push them a little more. When a veteran would come into our office on their initial visit, we were scheduled for an hour and a half, because we were going to cover all the benefits in case 6 months later they're in a motorcycle accident and they don't qualify for Social Security disability because they're only 22 years old and don't have enough work experience. So they're going to get SSI, which is $800 and some at the time that I put this young man onto the pension.
Okay.
So he got as much money out of the pension as he did from his SSI.
Very nice.
But he's permanently disabled.
Okay, we have a question from the LinkedIn user, and that's their name because they're hiding the security settings. That's fine though. And this may be a question we're going to get more often in this broadcast, Jane, is really on the BDD, the benefits discharge. You know that word. So is it better to find a VSO prior to making a claim or after submitting a claim?
Oh, definitely prior. Your claim is going to be based on, your rating decision is based on the evidence in the file at the time. So if I jump off the back of a 2.5, twist my ankle and fall down in the dirt, and gashed my palm of my hand and have to get stitches and maybe even did some tendon damage, but I didn't go to get x-rays of my ankle. Well, that's really hard to say, okay, now I'm going to say that I got injured, my ankle got injured. But I didn't point it out to the doctor. I was okay with it. I just, give me the stitches and let me get out of here. So the hand is covered, but the ankle's not. So you may need to get a buddy statement from one of the guys you served with that says, when he jumped off the back of the 2.5 and twisted his ankle and got the stitches in his palm, he put ice and ate ibuprofen and self-treated.
Okay, that makes sense. I don't think we like that answer, but if that's going to help us out in the future, or us and our families out in the future, that may be a good thing. Another question came in, Jane, from Eugene Duncan. None of the VSO numbers listed are working. I'm located in the Washington, D.C. area. Can someone help me find a VSO? Now, this may be a COVID-related thing. This could be, so if they can't find who they're looking for, can they go outside of their county, or how does that work?
Oh, yeah. I've had guys from other counties come to me. Sometimes it was because of the sensitive nature of their injuries, and other times it was because they weren't happy with the service they'd gotten in another county. You definitely have that option. Now, if it's a county veteran service officer, if you know it's a county office, call the county government, because odds are those people are at least pulling so many hours at home. So now it's a matter of, how do I get a hold of them? Okay. You may reach out to them on Facebook. You may reach out to them on LinkedIn and say, hey, I have questions. I'm returning to your AL when I get out of service, and this is what I want to know. Is there an employment person that's state employed? Oh, great. I can get a hold of Jeff so-and-so, and he can guide me on employment opportunities.
Now, for Eugene specifically, he can't get a hold of his VSO in Washington, D.C. area. I'm not sure what's happened over there, but Jane, can Eugene reach out to you after this broadcast?
Oh, definitely. I'll help you find your contacts. And then I will also, if it's basic questions on your claim, I can give you advice. If you're still in, these are the things you want to do. You want to go and get a copy of all of your medical records. You want to talk to your buddies that you served with that saw you jump off that 2.5 to get those letters for the ankle and things like that. So you want to have that packet. But if you don't know that those things are allowable, well, if they're just going off my medical record, it just shows I had stitches. It doesn't show my ankle. Well, yeah, but people saw you get injured.
Yeah, true. So Eugene, please, after this broadcast, I'll edit the post to make sure Jane's name is hyperlinked in there. Reach out to Jane, have a conversation. And Jane, how much do you charge?
I'm a volunteer.
Volunteer. So she's not going to charge you money. She's a volunteer because, she's got a heart of gold and a servant leader, as they say. So she's definitely one of those. Jane, the next question comes from another LinkedIn user. They're hiding their security settings. So how can you decide between various VSOs, assuming all are credentialed? Is there a best practice you use for finding the best one?
Yes. Talk to them.
Have a conversation, right?
Yeah. If you walked into a doctor's office and he was staring at the computer the whole time and never made eye contact with you, yeah, he's probably not real concerned with the quality of the care he's giving me. So, yeah, that's not what I'm looking for in a doctor. I want somebody who actually looks at me and says, is there something else going on here?
And that's a good point. They may be credentialed, but are they sympathetic, empathetic to what you're going through? And that's a good observation, Jane. Appreciate that. The next one is from Ed Orsted. Are you able to access claims that have already begun? So on an individual basis, can an individual or the VSO access claims on your behalf?
Okay. If you put up an e-benefits account, you can see a lot of the process that's going on with your claim. Now, the VSO, your accredited VSO, with your permission, with a signed 2122 that says, I authorize this person to be my representative, they can actually go into the VA's computer system and they can see the notes from the raters. They can see the doctor's notes. They can say, okay, the doctor said it's as likely as not this happened in service, 51%, but the rater turned him down. The rater's not a doctor. He can't supersede what the doctor says without requesting another exam.
That makes sense.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah, your VSO is going to be able to see more detail as it's happening in your system. And also remember, VSO has generally been on the job a while. So they're going to be able to pick up that phone and call that VSO liaison and say, hey, my guy just got diagnosed with stage 3. That VSO can then go into the system, pull that file, and put it on the expedite list so that it gets processed faster.
And that's good information right there.
Yeah. But
another question that came in, Jane.
Evidence.
That's true. Another question we have, and this is, we have a lot of viewers that are overseas. And listen, if you're watching this live, we'll make sure we adjust times shortly to get more overseas viewers. But for right now, it is what it is. We're trying. So from Anthony, is there a need for a VSO if I'm retiring from overseas?
Yes. Yes. The code 38 Code of Federal Regulation.
It's thick, right?
You know it? And then you've got the M21-1MR, Manual of Regulations. And then you've got M27-1. And then you've got your state benefits. Every state out there is slightly different. The state of Wisconsin is a very, very generous state. We have our own Wisconsin GI Bill on top of the federal one. So our veterans, home of record and or 5-year residents, can go for a master's degree.
Is that right?
And if that veteran is rated 30% or greater, their dependent children under the age of 26 and their spouse for 10 years after the last child turns 18 can get free tuition at any state university or state technical school. So we can educate the entire family.
So you're advocating that when people transition from the military, go live in Wisconsin, right?
Yes. It's a wonderful place.
Jane, now I wonder because
I'm a New York girl. This is where I chose.
So she's a New York girl that moved to Wisconsin, and now she has that Wisconsin accent. So it's very charming to speak to. Jane, when people ask about VSOs, I look at that as more like I have a car. I can put gas in the car. I can add oil to the car. But if it takes like major stuff, it's very important, like work on the engine, I'm not going to go get a manual. I'm going to take it to an expert because there's a short period of time that we can actually use these experts as we're transitioning. So get with the VSO when you transition. Make sure that they're aware of all your ailments. And Jane makes some very valid points here. A question from Walberto. Can a VSO help overturn a decision from Evoke Rehab on continuing education?
Yes, in that they can help you determine what additional evidence you could provide to show that. If you've gone through Voc Rehab or you've applied to Voc Rehab and they decide that they don't want to continue education, say you've already used your federal GI and you've gotten that bachelor's degree and you live in a state that doesn't have its own GI Bill like Wisconsin, then you need to start looking at, okay, I need to show that the degree I have is not really employable without either A, tearing up my family and moving them halfway across the country, or that I'm no longer able to work in that field due to my service injuries and illnesses.
That makes sense.
Because remember, Voc Rehab is based on the injuries and illnesses from service. So if you did get an accident, tear up your shoulder because you like to skeet shoot after service.
Who doesn't, right?
Service. Yeah, that's the other Voc Rehab program. That's disabilities through kind of like the Social Security program and stuff like that. So that's maybe why you're getting turned down, is the injury that you suffered actually non-military.
Jane, you just spoke about people moving to Wisconsin because of great benefits there. And Lynetta Walker, she's moving there because of you. So just know that when she gets there, she'll be reaching out to you, okay?
Definitely. I'm always into looking for adding to my military family.
There you go. Another user, is there a place we can find consolidated state benefits? I know that's a question we hear all the time. Where can I get all the benefits from each state?
Actually, military.com is a great site.
Okay.
They do have a list of all the states, and then when you click on it, it sends you to the state websites so that you can then review all the state benefits. Here in Wisconsin, if a veteran's rated 100% disabled, we have a tax reimbursement program for property taxes.
Okay.
So, and that continues with the widow.
That's good to know.
Yeah. So if our veteran is 100% service-connected disabled, say by ALS is a presumptive for the military. If you develop it, VA doesn't even argue. Twice as many people that were military get it.
Wow.
So you get rated 100%, you get your property tax relief. God forbid you get the fast kind, and a year later your wife is a widow.
Mm-hmm.
Then that benefit continues to them.
And that's good for the family because we know losing a veteran is tough enough, but being financially struggling because of that is another thing. Ed Orsted, another question. My VSO told me disability pay was taxed, and I had to claim it as an income on my taxes. Is that true?
No.
So we finally got a no from Jane because every question was yes so far. So no, Ed, no. Disability pay is not taxed. So Jane, tell them the reason why.
Because it's from the federal government. If they turned around and taxed you, and then they'd put the money back in the pot for the next payment for your disability. So VA disability is non-taxable. Now, there used to be a retirement check and a disability check, and they would say retirement pay is taxable, but your disability is not. So do you want to receive your $900 in disability and only keep $600 in retirement? So now you're getting taxed on $600. Or, gee, your disability is going to be bigger than your retirement, but they eliminated that when they eliminated you can't collect both. So you can collect both, but you have to add it. I think it's a 50% rating upgrade.
Okay.
And the DIC, it's same problem that we were having with that. So that's all changed. If you are a widow out there, or your mom or dad is, or whatever, then, and they were receiving DIC instead of retirement pay from their spouse, you need to get with Defense Finance because you now are eligible for both. But Defense Finance may not be able to chase you down if you've been receiving that DIC for 5 years and you've moved twice.
True. Yeah. And Ed has a follow-up. Now that you answer this question, can I fire my VSO? I don't think we pay them, so we can move on, right?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. And when you do, I want you to do it with fireworks. I want you to go to their boss because they're paid by somebody. And you want to say, this person's a waste of oxygen. Because otherwise you're just leaving them behind the desk for the next guy to get disappointed.
And if you can do that in a more sensitive way, just go to the boss and let them know what's going on. But that's it.
Yeah. I think you could tell I'm not a real PC kind of person.
And that's good. The world needs people like you, Jane.
Paul Lawrence thinks of me as his least favorite thorn.
Is that right? At least you're on his mind.
Every time he's out there on LinkedIn, I'm right behind him going, and what about this, Paul?
So Matthew Grant asked a question. What is the best way to claim dental?
Okay. Dental has conditions to it. You either have to be 100% service connected or receiving unemployability. Unemployability is when a Vietnam veteran, the only health issue he has is a bad heart, ischemic heart disease, At 60%, there's not a lot of people that are going to hire you. So the VA will look at whether or not you're able to achieve, I'm not sure, can't remember the word, decent employment.
Okay.
Okay. So at 60% for one thing, or you have a combination of a bunch of stuff, and one of them's 40%, and they go over 70%, then the VA has a process by looking at all those things and saying, you know what, your chances of receiving sustainable, decent employment is not there. So then they award you that other 30 or 40% on unemployment. Then you qualify for dental. The only other way is if you had a dental injury in service, and I don't mean you just got a filling or had a tooth pulled. I mean an actual facial injury,
tough,
jaw
Jane,
injury.
for some people, right?
Yeah, that's standard preventive care, and so that's not something that technically impacts the quality of your life. But if you had a facial injury, you had a jaw injury, then you can say, okay, I want care for that particular portion of my dental.
Okay.
Or if you get older and you're on pension and you're showing that you're not intaking food because your teeth are so bad, or they're actually so bad that they're impacting your health, then the doctor can request a waiver and have your care taken care of in the VA.
Okay. Now, Jeff has a pretty long question here, so I'm gonna really drill down to you. Really, it comes down to what concerns me are the burn pits we lived next to in the early 2000s. He was deployed in support of operations in the Middle East, but what the units did was not issue orders. So his question is, how do you prove you were there without having orders issued for the burn pits? Is there a way?
Yes, buddy statements can show, because actually a person might have been on one base and then done convoy work, taking supplies to other bases. Well, they're not going to cut you orders to go from one base to another. You know, it's like running up to the DMZ in Korea to do a maintenance job. You don't get orders, you just get in the truck and go. So those buddy statements can be in lieu of, well, he was here because we were doing an inventory when he dropped that piece of equipment on his foot. So,
that is true.
Yeah. Those buddy statements can be real important. That's why I was saying, if you're getting ready to get out and you have any injury or illness that you think is related to service and you don't have it in your medical records, then you need to get those buddy statements. He was here, he was exposed to this, he was exposed to that. You know, when Vietnam when they first recognized Agent Orange, they would have to have buddy statements to say, you know, they left certain areas and went into other areas. Well, then they said, okay, boots on ground. And now they've opened it up to the 12 nautical miles, because after all this stuff washed into the water, then the water went out to the ships and the ships sucked it in to use for showers and cooling and everything else.
And that makes sense. So Jeff, you have your information. Go forth and do good things with that. Jane, we're coming up on 40 minutes now, and people are getting anxious for your final tips. If you if the viewers out there want to drop their benefits tips in the comments, I'll try to flash them across the screen for everybody too. But Jane, if you could tell somebody your 3 most important tips as a transition or as a veteran, what would they be for our audience?
First and foremost, know who your VSO is, meet with them early, find out what they know that you have to put together as far as getting your medical records, getting your education records, because that could interpret into other classes later on. I picked up 2 associate degrees and a technical certificate after taking only 9 classes at our local tech school because of all my military training and my military experience.
Okay.
So lots of opportunities there for me to still go on to school using my GI Bill. But you want to start early, you want to know your VSO, and you want to know the VSO back home. Because if you're going to live in Kansas City and you're going to work in Kansas City on one side of the river, but the benefits are greater on the other side of the river, maybe you should add that extra 25 minutes to your commute.
That's a good point, Jane.
And just like we military speak one language, they speak another language on the outside. So that guy on the outside is going to help you get ready for it, like open season and all these other things that threw me off. But start early, know your VSO in service, know your VSO where you think you're going to land, because they can get you hooked up with the employment guys and the education contact for your military benefits.
I got an offline question here on a text, Jane, because someone's watching this that texted me. They asked, I was told to register my 214. What's that mean and why do I have to do that?
Okay. A registered DD-214 is absolutely important. And it's also usually the first contact you're going to make with your home base CVSO. Because, guys come home like Reserve and National Guard. Oh, the drill instructor said I have to come and give you this. And they're going to take it, give it to the county clerk, who's going to register it, give it a document number. And if you ever lose yours or have a house fire or something like that, then they're going to help you get another certified copy. Maybe get those extra 10 points for employment on a post office job or things like that. You want to have that certified. And you want to have your CVSO to have a copy, because if you're going to leave behind a widow or a spouse that we need to help with their benefits, we've got your record already started. And if you move to California, they can call the one in Wisconsin and say, hey, do you have one? Sure, here you go. Off it goes.
So everybody should go, when you get your 214, go out there and go see your VSO, your local VSO, and your VSO at your home, wherever you wind up. Have a conversation, bring in your 214. That way the conversation started. You have a reason to go there, not just dropping by. And do you need a certain copy? Does it have to be signed by anybody, or can be a copy?
Yes, you want the long copy.
Okay.
I think it's number 4.
Yes.
And because the top copy, if you look at it, you'll notice it only goes 2/3, 3/4 of the way down, and then it's cut off. Well, that doesn't tell whether it's an honorable or less than honorable.
I guess that's a good point then. So, Jane, can people reach out to you as a VSO? And I don't want everyone to blow up your LinkedIn messages, but if they do, you're okay with that, right?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. And basically, most of the time, I just might give you a little bit of advice, but in the end, I'm going to shoot you off to that VSO representative. I'm going to help you look that person up and say, okay, here's 3 or 4 phone numbers for people in your area.
And you can be the bridge. You can bridge that gap when it comes to not knowing the VSO, and you can point in the right direction. Maybe do a warm handoff to the VSO for them.
Yeah, and folks, there's so much to do with the VA. Please don't do it alone.
Good point. Again, use the VSO. Use your resources. They are the best information you can have out there. Don't go in alone. You're going to do yourself and your family a disservice.
Yes.
Any final thoughts today, Jane, as we close this down and hopefully you'll get some LinkedIn messages?
There's so much more to VA than just transition. There's so much more than education. There's so much more than compensation. If you don't know what a wartime veteran's pension is, because all you guys qualify right now, you need to sit down with that VSO. Whether you're 22 years old and suddenly disabled after service, or you're helping your dad or your mom because dad's already deceased and he served and she's struggling financially. Many of us become caregivers for our parents, making those financial decisions.
That is true.
There's things out there for those war veterans to keep them from living below poverty.
And just below me, scrolling across the bottom is the VA site to go find the VSOs. But go there, go to va.gov, search VSO, and you can search for the ones in your local area or your home station. But definitely reach out to VSO, reach out to Jane Babcock. And Jane, thank you very much for today. And I wouldn't mind bringing you on for another guest, because we have a lot of things to cover. This is way more than just this 40-minute speech right here. So, again, thank you very much. And if you will tune in tomorrow, I think at 2 p.m. East Coast time, Jose Velasquez will have a guest on talking about more great information, military transition, or the VA benefits. So, Jane, again, thank you very much, and we'll see
You're
everybody
welcome.
soon.
Everybody take care. Stay safe.
Take care, Jane. Thank you very much.
Bye.